This is Fat to Fierce. Welcome to the Confidence Chronicles. I'm your host, Amy English. Join me on this empowering adventure towards a healthier relationship with food, body, and self, one delicious bite at a time. Hello there. I'm so happy you're here. Today we're covering an interesting topic. So in episode 10 of the Confidence Chronicles, we talked about sprinkling more pleasure and joy into our daily lives and why that is so important when it comes to overcoming emotional eating. How having a variety of things that feel good can shift the focus from turning to food and eating. In that episode, I mentioned the idea of examining your current environment to find things you may already be doing that feel joyful and bring pleasure to your day. Things that you possibly haven't thought about before. And the reason for this is that you may already be doing things that add pleasure and joy to your day. You're just not thinking of them in that way. So then it becomes less about adding things to your already busy day and more about intentionally noticing things that feel joyful. They're already there. It's just a matter of paying attention and bringing them into your awareness. And a few examples included feeling the cool side of your pillow at night, when you flip your pillow over, or going for a walk outside, feeling the sunshine on your face, listening to a favorite song, or listening to an audiobook in the car rider line at school, taking a longer shower in the morning, sitting in a comfortable spot to journal or meditate. Maybe it's a favorite spot. When you start noticing the things you're already doing that feel joyful, you start to feel better. Well, in today's episode, we're going to talk about the flip side of pleasure and joy. Because while we may already be doing things that feel good, we just have to notice them, chances are we're also doing things that don't feel good. Things that leave us feeling depleted, drained, zapped, frustrated. And just like with pleasure and joy, we may not even realize it. When we unintentionally keep doing things that leave us feeling zapped on a regular daily basis, and we continue using food to feel better, you may see where I'm going with this. The emotional eating cycle kicks in as a way to temporarily feel better, as a way to feel comfort, joy, relief, or even energetic. I'm going to talk about that in just a minute. And it often happens without you even noticing until you're staring at the empty bag, box, or carton of goodies. So here's what it can look like. I'm going to paint a little picture. You may spend a significant amount of time doom scrolling on social media. Like we've all been there before. And it leaves you feeling drained and just terrible. So you automatically search for a snack to lift your mood. Or here's another one. When you're working on a tedious, mind-numbing project for work or a task you dislike. So you search for sweets to break the monotony. It's mindless and almost automatic, like you're on autopilot. You were feeling bad and searching for treats to help you feel better. This is the habit. So, side note about feeling energetic, because this little story is interesting. I had a client once who used food as a way to boost her energy levels, thinking that was the solution to why she felt drained all the time. But upon closer review, eating, especially when she was not physically hungry, left her feeling worse in the long run. She'd get the initial high from the food only to crash harder. And then she would eat more to boost the energy and crash again. This was her cycle. Once she could see it, she was able to evaluate and change it. That's the magic of seeing it. When you don't look at the habit, like when you don't pay attention to it, when you don't investigate it, you won't see the connections. So that is why it is so incredibly important to examine our behaviors with food in a kind, compassionate, judgment-free zone, like private coaching sessions. And yes, this is a plug. You can go to my website to book a discovery call and learn more, amyenglishcc.com. Okay, anywho, back to our topic for today. How are the things in your environment supporting you? How are they hindering you? And I'm not talking about the environment as a whole, although that is an important topic. I'm referring to your specific environment, your corner of the world. That would be everything and everyone that you're spending your precious time with and on. All of the messaging that is coming at you. And let's face it, we all have a lot of messaging coming at us at all times of the day and night. And some examples to look at are what you're reading, what you're listening to, who you're reading and listening to, the activities you're participating in, people you're spending time with, and the work you're doing in the world. All of these things, are the things in your environment energizing you, or are they exhausting you? Are the messages helpful? So the messages that you're getting, are they helpful or are they harmful? You get to take inventory and do an audit. Take a look at all the things, make notes, and then decide what stays, what gets adjusted, and what goes. You get to choose. And this is part of taking your power back. Because you don't have to continue doing something that doesn't feel great. Or you can find ways to make it better or set healthier boundaries. So the first time I did an environmental detox, which was several years ago, it helped me see how the shows I was watching, the information I was consuming, how it wasn't helpful, how it wasn't serving me, how it wasn't supporting me. And so I stopped watching certain shows, specifically crime shows. I realized they left me feeling terrible and more worried and more fearful about the world. And that's not a good place to be regularly. It wasn't entertainment. Watching those shows didn't leave me feeling good. I also learned to limit my time watching and listening to the news. Okay, here's the deal. We have a plethora of news outlets available at our fingertips with dozens of opinions. It can be very overwhelming. And I have found for myself, there's a very careful balance when it comes to being an informed citizen without getting sucked into every single story available. Monitoring this particular messaging continues to be very helpful. And I also pay very close attention to how certain messaging feels in my body. What I mean by that is how it feels in my gut response, the gut reaction. That alone can be very telling. And I have unfriended and unfollowed a lot of people on social media based on my body signals, based on that initial gut response. But here's the thing. Just because someone or something feels negative doesn't mean you have to trash it. This is especially true of people in your life. So There may be someone in your life who leaves you feeling depleted, but you're not willing, able, or ready to kick them to the curb. And that's okay. In this case, how can you make the relationship better? How can you create better boundaries for yourself? How can you make the engagements easier for you without them even knowing? This is where the 3 B's come in. B as in better. This is a fun tool I learned in coach training. So the 3 B's are this: bag it, barter it, better it. And bag it means get rid of it, toss it, trash it. Barter it means exchange it. Exchange with someone or something. And better it just means to make it better, an improvement. So I'm going to use work as an example because this one is very familiar for me from when I was in corporate America many moons ago. So here's how this works. The 3 B's. Maybe you don't love your current job and it leaves you feeling frustrated and drained. That was me. Can you bag it? Meaning, can you just, get rid of your job? Can you just quit or walk away? Maybe not right now. At least, back in the day, I couldn't leave it right then. So bagging it is not an option. Can you barter it? Well, probably not because, you really can't trade with someone and have them go to work for you. So bartering it isn't going to work, most likely. Can you better it? Can you better the experience while you're still there? Possibly, yes. How? What are some ways to make it a better experience for the time being? Well, maybe you can start looking for a new gig. Sometimes, and I remember this, sometimes the act of looking for a new job can just bring a little bit of hope to the situation, and that might feel a little bit better. I mean, keep in mind that it's been almost a decade since I worked in the corporate world, so I don't know, some of this might be outdated. But maybe just kind of starting to look to see what else is available, what else is out there, can shed a little bit of light on other opportunities, and that might start to feel a little bit better. Or find ways to make the environment a little bit better where you're working, whether it's from home or in an office or some other facility. I once had a client who started bringing fresh flowers to her office, and having those fresh flowers at her desk just helped to improve the situation a little bit. Doing a brainstorm on how you can better a situation that you cannot bag or barter can be really helpful in starting to find some ways to just make even tiny improvements. It doesn't have to be anything major. Tiny improvements can go a long way. Here's another quick story about bettering a situation. So another client story. I had a client who spoke with certain family members every day. When she realized that she felt zapped afterward, she started to put some space in between the conversations. So instead of talking to these family members every single day, it became every other day, and then a few times each week. And she did this gradually until it felt better. The family members never knew. She didn't tell them. She just experimented to see what might feel better. And this is an example of setting a better boundary for yourself, and you can keep it to yourself if you want to. I mean, it's entirely up to you. You can decide to tell folks that you're going to set a boundary, or you can just practice setting one and see what happens. The whole point is that you are intentionally choosing ways to improve your environment so that it serves you better. Because the people that feel heavy or even harmful are weighing you down. And when food is the go-to for feeling better, the emotional eating cycle continues. So just recognizing what feels draining or who feels draining is a huge step. Because even if you can't change it at the current moment, you are now aware. And that knowledge is power. And it might explain things better. And then you can create a plan that works for you. This specifically pertains to stuff like those tedious work projects I mentioned earlier. You may not be in a position to tell your boss, no, you're not going to do that. But having the awareness about how a certain task impacts you can help you set some expectations for yourself and make a plan around it. For example, you may have to grade papers if you're a teacher and you don't enjoy doing that. You might have to write a report, or you may have to draft an outline for a podcast. Yes, friends, it is not my favorite task. So knowing that creating the outline is not my favorite task and knowing it might leave me feeling depleted, I think of ways of how I can support myself during and after without using food to buffer. That's the whole point of this. Now, I love creating the podcast. I love recording the podcast because I'm someone who really enjoys to talk. But sitting down and creating that outline, the initial outline, can sometimes be a daunting task for me, especially since I'm an overthinker. I tend to overanalyze and overthink, and I can get myself caught in the weeds. So I have found ways to make that outline process, creating the outline, a little bit better for me. And that includes taking breaks. I have learned to walk away in the midst of it because I can get myself stuck in the weeds. I have to just physically get up from my desk and walk away for a second just to get some fresh air or, a fresh cup of coffee or glass of water. These are all very simple, easy, doable ways that I make the process better because I'm not looking to bag my podcast and I can't barter it. So how am I going to make the process of creating the outline better? Hopefully that's been a good example to use. So this week, I'm going to invite you to entertain the idea of doing an environmental detox for yourself. Just notice where you're spending your time and attention and where you might want to make some adjustments. I'm not saying you have to make adjustments, but again, just noticing what tends to leave you feeling depleted, drained, frustrated, and zapped can provide a lot of helpful information so that you can create a plan of what you might want to do. Because it may just be making some tweaks to make things a little bit better. And start with simple things, like maybe what you're watching. Here's how this works. Take a look at the shows that you're watching or videos or what have you. List three of the top things you watch regularly. Write down how each one makes you feel. And this is where you want to be really honest with yourself and the way that you're feeling. Are the shows helpful or harmful? Are they energizing, or exhausting? So when you finish watching them, how do you feel? Do you feel good or not so good? Is anything sending funky vibes? Just take note. And then, what can you remove from your video lineup that is not serving your best interest? Or how can you make the experience better? Maybe instead of watching a certain video every day, you watch it every other day or once a week. Hopefully you get the idea. And then you want to rinse and repeat with the other things. What you're reading, who and what you're listening to, commitments on your calendar, work tasks, all the things. This is how you will take back your power in your own environment. This is putting you in the driver's seat of your own journey. And it is a big part of overcoming emotional eating as well. Have fun with this. If you have any questions or you want to share your experience, I would love to hear from you. You can go ahead and send me an email anytime at amy@amyenglishcc.com. All right, until next week, have a good one. Are you ready to take control of your eating, embrace your body, and boost your confidence? Then let's get fierce. Start your Fat to Fierce journey today. Go to amyenglishcc.com for more resources and to book your discovery call.